how to prepare and handle job interviews. In this video, I will share some experiences about job interviews. Here is my background. I graduated from my university in 1996. Since then, I did many different jobs from entry level to management levels, such as production engineer, service engineer, sales manager, supply chain analyst, director, and so on, um, in China and Canada. As you know, it is impossible to get a job just by one or two interviews. Normally, there are 3 rounds or more, even more times for one job. Besides, you might be failed in many job applications. In my past 20 years, I have accumulated quite a lot uh, experiences. How to prepare your job interviews. The most important but essential thing is to know yourself, especially all materials written in your resume. During the period of job interview, try to talk about yourself with people as more as possible. For example, you can talk to your family, your friend, even yourself. But when you talk about yourself with people, don't just recite your resume. You must prepare 3 to 5 stories or cases according to your resume. Um, each story can be presented in multiple angles, right? So 3 to 5 stories can present your whole resume perfectly. If somebody picks up any point from your resume and you can explain it by telling one of these stories in a specific angle, you are almost ready. Um, Here's the reason why we should prepare stories instead of reciting your resume. Try to think about the interview from the interviewer's perspective. Uh, he or she would interview a lot of people, but everybody just repeat something from the resume to answer the questions. The interviewer must be tired about it. If you can answer questions by telling him or her a real story, he or she must be impressed for sure. There is a tip for interview preparation. Normally, you need to prepare some numbers such as sales revenue, savings, and so on. These numbers could be numeric, such as 20, 24, 20.4, and so on, or they could be percentage, say 5%, 10%, and so on. How to use these numbers in the right format is tricky. As my personal experience, try to use this number in a impressive way. For example, if you say I did a project which my company saved 5% more than last year, 5% is not that impressed. But if you tell people my company saved $200,000 due to my project, um, $200,000 sounds much more impressed, right? Now we talk about how to handle the interview correctly. If you can prepare yourself well, you should be confident now. But if you cannot handle the interview correctly, it will be still very tough. There is a wrong opinion about the interview for most people. For them, the interview can be only controlled by the interviewer since they ask questions. How can the interviewee to handle the interview? It is true, the first question has to be asked by the interviewer, but before and during answering the first question, why can't you take over the interview? If you can do that, you can lead the interview to the direction which you have prepared very well, right? If you cannot do that, you don't know what kind of questions will be asked. That will be definitely a tough process. So try to take over the interview as possible as you can. Then how can you take over the interview? Here is a way. Try to make these questions as small or precise as possible. Normally, the most common first question for interview is, tell me about yourself. Most people will start to recite their resumes, and they will finish it in 3 to 5 minutes. After that, they will wait for the second question, third question, and so on. That is not a good or right way at all. The way I will do is to ask a question instead of answering it immediately. I will try to ask, I have a very long history. Would you like to listen to my whole life from my childhood? Or I will try to ask, would you like to listen to my working experiences only? By these questions, the interviewer normally will tell you which part he or she want to listen. I had a job interview before. The interviewer just wanted to listen to my experiences, except the working experiences. If I didn't ask, how would I know, right? The more important thing is that you have taken over the interview since you don't answer the question immediately. Now you are handling the interview and you know what you should talk. When you talk about yourself, try to add your stories in your introduction instead of simply reciting the resume. You can talk as much as you can. Um, the best situation is the interviewer might ask you questions based on your introduction, which you have prepared very well. Normally, an interview should be from 40 minutes to 1 hour. If you can talk about yourself more than 20 minutes, even 30 minutes, the interviewer has not much time to ask you more questions. In this situation, who is handling the interview, right? Of course, if the interviewer stops you, just stop. Don't argue. For each question, especially the questions you don't understand, try to ask back by your own words. By this way, you can try to control the interview as possible as you can. At the same time, you can check if you get the interviewer's points correctly. The final part, which can be ignored, is to prepare several questions about the position or company. 3 questions should be good. Normally, the interviewer will ask you if you have any questions at the end of the interview. If you don't have any questions, that means you are not interested in this position or company at all, which is not good. So always have some questions. Of course, if you are not interested in this position anymore, just say no questions. These are some interview experiences I can share. Hope they are helpful. Thank you.